Welcome to Finding Monster Right, the show about finding monsters, right?
Right.
Yes!
Sometimes find them on a scary tropical island with prehistoric beasts.
And sometimes we find them on a scary tropical island with one snake.
Oh, yes. The contents of Skull Island are a much debated topic, like theologically.
Adam, do you know what you've done?
What's the?
You fucked up the intro.
It's not.
Say
No,
your name.
we nailed the intro, and now we're messing up the episode. Like that's fair.
We were this close to greatness.
The title of today's episode is Banana Republic. Where's King Kong's crown?
Banana Republic, where's King Kong's crown? That's Adam, and I'm neither beast nor man. Because today we're covering Kong. And I did
big old monkey boy.
Big old monkey boy. And I did my research for this one for once. I watched the 33 version, the 76 version, the 2005 version, and Skull Island. Adam, what did you... what did you contribute to our dear beloved listeners' time in exchange for their iTunes reviews and unending adulations?
I have witnessed Skull Island, the new version.
Okay.
And when I was 12, 2005 King Kong was on, and I was invited. I'm like, I'm not seeing that shit. It's 3 hours? What are you, crazy? I got a whole life to live.
Was that when it was in theaters? Because I think I was 10 when it was in theaters.
Yeah, I believe so.
I did see it in theaters. My mom and brother went to see Chicken Little.
Oh, I think my dad took my younger brother to see it. I think I was in part protest to that. I'm like, he is too young for this kind of violence.
That is something that 12-year-old you would definitely say. A very paternal 12.
Right, but we, so I am coming into Skull Island with a limited amount of information and hopefully ending this podcast with way more than I ever needed to know.
Yes. So the question is, does King Kong deserve the crown?
Yes, King Kong as a monarch. King Kong as a king in the medieval sense.
As a head of state.
Yes, as responsible for all his subjects, the paupers of the region. Is he worthy of that title?
Pauper is a strong word. I also don't know what it means, really.
Oh, I was thinking of like a feudal system.
Yeah, I got what you're saying, like Prince and the Pauper. But what is... Okay, we can't get distracted by what a pauper is. That's going to have to be one of those riddles that just kind of disappears until, like, it's discovered by a Norwegian Baroque, and we get a map to find the definition of the word pauper.
Those are like the paupers are the normal-sized, like, lizards that they see, like, on the coastline.
That's not a thing that happens.
Okay, I'm 0 for 2.
Yep.
Thus far on guessing what happens on Skull Island.
You really are. So, well, okay, so let's build this from the ground up. Let's talk about Skull Island itself. Let's talk about what's up with the island, what lives on it. So, in the 33 version, it's an island southwest of Java at around 12 degrees south, 78 degrees east. And it's covered by a permanent fog cloud, so no one's seen it or whatever. And on this island are like a bunch of like stop motion dinosaurs, but they're like the early 20th century, like Charles Knight style, like big blobby boy things. Right. Basically, in the 70s, there was a bit of a dinosaur renaissance that was spurred by Deinonychus that which is kind of like a Jurassic Park Velociraptor type thing, and that kind of revitalized the perception of dinosaurs, going from like big, bulky lizards that lived in swamps and whatever to the more active and agile reptiles we know of today. Also, in the original 33 version is a skull crawler.
Oh, the descendants, or not unlike the skull crawlers of the newest Kong Skull Island.
Very like that creature. See, what happened was they wanted to add like a little like lizard thing that crawls up the wall, and they wanted to base it on a creature that I don't think is a proper dinosaur called Aetosaurus. I might be pronouncing that wrong. Aetosaurus. And they ran out of money for the back legs, and so it's just this two-legged thing that just crawls up out of a hole while Jack is hiding from Kong, and it's just like a split-second thing. But in Skull Island, they took that one thing and they just made it into a whole
like race.
Yeah, which I think was really neat.
I'm glad to hear. I had a good time with Kong Skull Island, so I'm glad to hear it's got some history that was acknowledged.
Absolutely, yeah. And in the 76 version, I believe there is a skull of a Triceratops that we see, but the budget for that is also pretty bad.
Like an actual Triceratops skull, right?
No. Like the budget for the 76 version, like the creature budget, pretty much all went to Kong. Like he fights a snake, and that's about it.
Okay. Yeah, that's makes sense. And now, if you only have budget for 2 monsters, a snake's a good pick.
Snake's a pretty good pick. You know why? Save all that leg money.
All the leg money, and you really get your money stretched thin.
You know what they say: if you skimp on legs, you never run out of cash.
That's.
Oh god, that went directly down the wrong pipe.
That's.
I was like drinking it into my lungs.
I'm not saying you deserve it, but I'm glad that's how it. I'm glad your sound effects backfired.
I'm just so delighted that I took such a big swing and a miss. Speaking of big swings, let's talk why Kong's even there. Oh, yeah, I forgot to mention that in Skull Island, the bugs are so much cooler than the 2005 bugs. There's a lot of bugs, and Daryl runs around the 2005 jungle for like 30 seconds and runs into as many dinosaurs that all want to eat her all at once, because every living thing on Skull Island in 2005 is high as fuck.
Yeah, it's like just a giant Rube Goldberg machine.
It really is.
Of monster like jumps.
That's a fantastic way to describe it. Yes, completely that.
Mm-hmm.
But the Skull Island monsters, though, in Kong Skull Island 2017, I just watched all the grim, dark, like bullshit world building of the 2005 version, which is the 2005 version's weakest element. And like, there's a bit where, and you know how I feel about spoilers, in that I do not care about spoilers. There's a bit where they're walking through a bamboo forest, and like a guy just gets impaled by a bamboo spike suddenly, and then it reveals why that happened, and I actually like squealed with delight. It was so fucking good, and I don't want to ruin it for anyone.
No, it's very good.
It's extremely good. I was just like, oh my god.
It's also not a thing where, okay, when it comes to like big monster movies, now it's like when you want to see dinosaurs on film, you go to like your Jurassic Park movies, and they know that, which is why I think the quality suffers. They're like, where else are you going to get this? I'm glad that there's another property out there, another movie that's handling, even not in like D&D terms, even if they're humongous, like large and huge sized monsters.
Oh yeah, no, I would say that they're. I mean, they're pretty big.
Oh yeah,
yeah, no, they're pretty exceptional. But
Skull Island does. Kong Skull Island definitely feels like it has an ecosystem to it.
mm-hmm. And like Kong Skull Island has has got those buffalo things. Oh my god, I want to be their friend so bad.
Yeah, you can definitely see the circle of life in action there.
There's also just like regular deer, which is weird. That's not even remotely similar to any of the other versions. All the other versions are like, you never see a regular animal on Skull Island. It's like there's a snake that's like huge, or there's like a Tanistropheus thing with like a squat body but like a big long neck and tail that strangles Kong.
So what I'm hearing is that on the spectrum of like subjects here, having a abnormal ruler is acceptable,
right,
among the public.
Right. Basically, there's a lot of cool stuff on Skull Island, and if I had to rank them in terms of Skull Island environment and why it's blocked, I would say that the 2017 version is best, then 05, then 33, then 76. And also the reason why Skull Island is isolated is different. Skull Island takes place in the 70s, so Kong's only been in the 30s and the 70s, really. And in both of the 70s version, it's like, well, we just invented satellites, and guess what? Turns out there's an island we missed. And in the 33 version, it's like Carl Denham comes into possession of some map from some Norwegian Baroque ship captain, which I had to look up what kind of boat that was. And I was like, oh, it's a neat, cool boat.
Yeah, I know less about boats than Skull Island.
Yeah.
And that's saying something.
It's like a boat with like, it's made of wood, and it's got like sails on it. I see like a regular modern boat, and I'm like, all right, it's a boat. And then I see like a cool wooden boat, and I'm like, ooh, piratey.
Absolutely. The 30 version definitely has that kind of evocative of the Indiana Jones era, that kind of explorer vibe.
It's absolutely
filling in the map, parts unknown, that type of stuff.
Right, it's absolutely Indiana Jones to a certain extent, and definitely King Kong are examples of the Lost World genre, which is basically like, hey, we colonized all of Africa and half of Asia, and now we got to make up new places to be afraid of. And sometimes they're surrounded by geomagnet storms that'll mess up your compasses.
Yep, or you have to, like, journey beneath the world, or into the depths, or into the space. It's all, yeah, the same vibe. So, I think we've established our locale.
Yes.
Our backdrop here.
I will say that Skull Island... In Kong Skull Island, it's in the South Pacific, which is the only difference. In the other ones, it's implied to be in the same place around Southeast Asia.
Mm.
That doesn't really matter, though. It's just, like, generic faraway place. I guess I'm just a Kongpletionist.
Are we going, like, culture? Civilization?
Next, I actually want to take a step back and talk about what people know about Skull Island beforehand. Some foreign policy stuff for Kong.
All right.
Because we started with, like, the foundation, and now we're, like, looking at it from the perspective of an outsider going in.
That is every Kong movie.
Yeah. Well, in the 33 version, all that they know, or they know, like, a lot of stuff about Kong. Like, they know that he's a god or a spirit or something that keeps the islanders in fear. There's a lot of fascist coding with Kong, actually, in 33.
So a tyrant to them.
Pretty tyranny.
Yeah. A Tyrantosaurus.
Second only to the actual Tyrannosauruses.
Right.
And it's weird that, like, Carl mentions how there's an island hidden behind a fog cloud that he knows because he has this map that he got from this guy. And Engelhorn, the captain, is like, well, I've never heard of an island like that. Well, have you heard of Kong? Well, sure, he's like a god or a spirit or something, and he lives on this island and protects the people or whatever. It's like, yeah, well, and he lives on this island. Well, I'll be... like, the island is the weird part, not the Kong.
His reputation precedes him, clearly.
He does, and like, for something that's cut off completely from the outside world, that's strong foreign policy. Oh yeah, they also know about the wall beforehand.
Yeah?
There's a big wall that the villagers built to keep you know, the monsters out from where they live. Or not the villagers, we'll get into this later. And then in, like, Andy Serkis plays a cook on the ship in the 2005 version, and like
what he's famous for.
Right.
He's a classic cook actor.
Neither Andy Serkis makes it out of the 2005 version alive, by the way.
It makes sense.
I was watching the movie and I was like, it wasn't the airplanes. It was like 5 worms that looked like dog penises that killed the beast. Because that's how he dies. But he knows about how, like, this guy... So this, like, one guy just washed up in a boat with, like, a bunch of drawings written in blood about, like, all the horrible things that he's seen on Skull Island. Now, if we're talking, like, weird local legends that people actually hear about in other countries, or some guy in a boat washes up, or absolutely nothing because we're hidden behind some kind of magnet storm, then really I think the 33 version has to win in terms of foreign policy.
Yes, clearly. He's the... he, as we said, his reputation precedes him.
Right, yeah, no, you want to... Well, honestly, I don't think it's a very good foreign policy to just, like, back me up on this, like...
He doesn't have a clear message.
No.
Apparently. If he is either a spirit or a god.
Well...
Right, it's unclear if he's a force for good.
Well, I mean, what's a god but a big spirit, really?
I suppose.
What is God but a tall ghost? Hi, I'm Christopher Hitchens.
Yeah, he seems to be... I would not call Kong... I would not say Kong has a good PR campaign.
No. Primate relations?
Yes, right. In fact, you've seen these 4 movies. Is there a movie where Kong interacts with other primates besides humans?
Oh, good question. In the 33 version, like, Jack and Anne are just talking on the ship, and then, like, suddenly Anne looks down and there's, like, a little capuchin monkey on the ship for some reason that they brought, I guess. Like, this is before they get to the island. And the whole thing's in black and white, so, like, I'm looking around, like, it was at, like, the bottom of the frame and in black and white, and it didn't really stand out. And so Anne's just like, oh, what do you think, little monkey? And I was like, oh, fuck, shit. But that's the only other primate that shows up in these movies. And there's a little montage of, like, some zoo animals in 2005, but that's it.
I had a feeling I had a scene like that. But yeah, no, primate relations, just as low as public relations. Certainly.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, okay, I don't want to talk too much about Jack and Anne. I will say that the 2005 version has the best version of them, and I will say that watching the 33 version is kind of a trip, because it's just... I'm 55, apparently, now.
It's a bit of a doozy that there is.
A bit of a whoopsie-woo or whatever. But, like... This bitch does just faint whenever anything happens or anyone does anything. Like, she can't finish a sentence. She can't steal an apple without fainting.
Maybe she has a condition.
That is the exact conclusion that I came to, is that she has some kind of genetic disorder.
Yeah. Clearly she's not capable of maintaining the amounts of air that she needs.
No. I think she might be wearing a corset the whole time or something. Like, she's just not getting enough oxygen to her brain, and she's just falling into syncope over and over. 2005 Anne does faint once, but that is because like Kong is running with her in his fist and like shaking her around like a lot, so much so that I was frankly kind of weirded out that her neck didn't snap. So like they justified it, but
yeah, it's also early aughts. That's when fainting for no reason was on its way out.
Yeah.
The ozone had fully opened up in 2006.
Right.
So that's the correct amount of oxygen is in every distressed female's lungs. What else can we decipher about this domain? Sorry, this full kingdom, I should say.
Right.
Kingdom of the Skull Islands.
Yeah. Well, the format is the same in every one. There's one tribe, and there's which they're called the Iwis in the Kong Skull Island, and I was very delighted that they finally had a name besides like the natives or something.
Yes, that's a little more woke.
It is more
slightly.
It is more woke. Let's talk about the Skull Islanders themselves now.
Got it. So I'm gonna tell you what I recall from Skull Island.
I would love to know that actually, because there is some progress that has been made in the past 12 years even, it turns out.
Yeah, I think, okay, they speak a language unto themselves.
They do not speak a language in Skull Island. In the movie Skull Island. In Kong Skull Island, the name of the movie that I should just call it instead of trying to use fucking lingo.
Well, why don't we just use years from here on out? In
2017, they don't speak verbally. They have a written language all over themselves, and like this really neat like trick with perspective that they do a lot of,
which is good. That's some solid world building.
Yeah, no, they have like a thing where like it's one of those paintings that's on a bunch of posts and you can only see it when you walk and look at it in the right way. They do that a lot, just to make the scene where John C. Reilly just explains the history of the world building. Just make that a little more visually interesting, I guess.
Yeah, hopefully he, like, walks at the right pace.
Yeah.
He can't, like, run through the story.
Honestly, like, this is the big difference between 2017 and 2005, sure. Is, like, they both did a lot of world building, but the 2017 is a lot more corporate, focus group-driven world building. The 2005 version is a lot more, like, grim, dark, 90s, 2000s world building. The 2017 stuff is explained in the text of the film, and the 2005 stuff is just kind of implied, which is not how you canonize your world building. Now it's just a thing you said, no. J.K. Rowling.
Yeah, I heard that there was a pseudo documentary on the 2005 DVD about Skull Island. Like that's a type of world building that they did.
It is really interesting.
Where it's like we made you see like 20% of the stuff that we made, which is not effective.
No, I would say it's completely ineffective. You're right. It's like if it's not made explicit in the text, or at least implied in the text, and this is true of like movies and books and whatever, then it's not canon.
Right. You can't intend to do something and then not show it at all.
Exactly right. Yeah. But anyway.
So yeah, the natives in the 2017 version have a written language. Did they speak a foreign dialect in any other ones, or are they perpetually mute?
Oh boy, yeah, no, they speak a foreign dialect of a certain kind, for a certain level of foreign.
Oh, I see. Very bad broken English?
No English, actually. I don't believe they've ever spoken English.
Good.
So, let's start at the beginning.
Yes, please.
It does not get better progressively in a way that you might expect.
No.
So the 33 version is like generic natives. They've got like body paint and like some quote unquote native costumes. They also have a lot of costumes that involve long black hair, which is involved in the ritual. And that was interesting to me because it means that either they're straightening their own hair and using it to emulate Kong, or Kong himself is donating clippings of his hair for use in these ritual costumes.
Perhaps he has a degree of shedding.
I don't know enough about gorillas to dispute that. I don't know if gorillas shed. I worked at a zoo for a while, so I know like more about gorillas than the average layman, but I don't.
But worth noting that yes, body paint and clothing, two things that Kong does not represent.
No. But
so I do you think would be considered a man of the people?
I think he would be considered neither beast nor man.
Got it. But a being of the people? No.
He protects them. In the 33 version, he is sacrificed to more out of fear, like more out of like we don't want Kong coming through here and beating us the heck up.
But what you're saying is it's a little more symbiotic than that as a protector.
That's true. That's more of an elaboration in the later versions.
In that one, it's very they simply give, and he does.
In that one, he is just like some guy that asks a lot of them. And also in the 33 version, like as Kong is rampaging through their village, because spoilers, it doesn't work out.
Well, to be fair, that's pretty medieval monarch, right?
Yeah.
You have a feudal system where the people suffer and the rich get rich and richer and richer.
That's very true. He just gets more and more ladies that he probably accidentally eats.
Correct. And yeah, when he
up until the first white lady he sees.
When you feel his wrath, it's bad news.
Right. But also in the 33 version, when he's like rampaging around, the natives actually have like, you're like, oh, humans are getting eaten and humans are getting stepped on. Like there's a scene with like a lady who just like freaks out because she realizes she left her baby out on the street in all the panic, and she goes out and grabs it.
Very human. I feel like you're building to a contrast here.
Yes, I am.
In some later iterations.
I indeed am.
Do tell.
Well, in the 76 version, it's less of a village and more of just a budget-friendly lack of buildings. It's just like a big...
They just all like sleep under the stars?
It's just like a big thing of sand. We only ever see them like right up against the wall because the wall is the only thing they've built. The wall is like the great New Deal infrastructure project that Kong has them doing because, as they've said, sometimes the natives have forgotten higher civilization, which is a gross way of putting it. But they maintain the wall. That's their big deal. Which, by the way, did not earn 33 Kong points in the not a fascist column.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. So
one big structure, a big dividing wall, which is that... how effective is that throughout the movie? I feel like that's a Chekhov's gun.
That is...
of architecture.
That is not effective in the 33 or 76 versions, and I believe it works as intended in 2005 and 2017.
Okay, that's all right, 50-50.
Yeah. It's 50-50 as far as infrastructure goes, which is better than American infrastructure.
We've got more duds than that, so...
No, I've driven in Pennsylvania before.
Well, I'm curious how that stacks up to the... I don't know, castle ratio of Great Britain.
Well, in the 76 version, like, the entire population, and this is true in 33 also, kind of, but the music that the natives play in the ritual is way better in the 76 version. Like, they heard it a bit, and they did the thing where it's like, that's not breakers, that's drums, because they don't know the island's inhabited or whatever.
So, all right.
I started just, like, vibing to it. Like, I just got it instantly.
Well, we were talking about how Kong isn't all painted and dressed, but does he ever partake in musical culture?
He shows up at the end of the ritual to accept the bride.
Would you call it an appreciation, then?
I would call it an appreciation. In the 76 version also, there's not so much war paint going on. There are more costumes. There are some people dressed up. I think they're supposed to be like ghosts, like the spirits of the ancestors of the people. And there's the one guy, the chief, who's wearing like what is clearly a ritualistic Kong costume on like his in the form of like a loincloth and a mask and stuff, but the rest of him is just real like ropey muscle style and like clearly oiled up, and he's just doing this weird pelvic dance to make sure that the allegorical sexuality is made very clear to you. And like he does it several times in the movie because these asshole white people that just show up, one of whom is Jeff Bridges at his most assholey. And the other is Jessica Lange, something. But
Lang.
Yeah, no, the 76 version hates women in a different way and to a different degree than the 33 version, but they both assuredly hate women. I can't stress that enough.
Understood.
In the 76 version, she's just dumb, and it's really uncomfortable to watch. But it's a solid bad movie.
That's bad. How are the 05 natives?
Oh boy. The 2005 natives. Oh no, Peter. Okay, so let me walk you through. I've said this a lot in this episode, but let me walk you through the 2005 version. It starts off with like a fun montage set to some vaudeville music of like some zoo animals and 30s New York, and like Ann Darrow's vaudeville routine. She's a vaudeville performer in this instead of like a movie actor, which is interesting, and it's a character trait. And like, she knows about Jack Driscoll, who is like just a guy who's on the boat in the first movie, and he's like the love interest, the human love interest. And so you're like, oh, Driscoll, so he's going to be on the boat, and he's the writer for the movie that Jack Black is making. And
yep, it's 2005.
And Anne already knows about him from his playwriting, and she's like a fan. And so she's like in the mirror in her cabin on the ship, just like practicing what she'll say to him and stuff. And like they like each other and they fall in love on the boat. And it's really, 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 really cute for the whole time, and I'm having such a good time. And then they show up on the natives, and it turns into like 300, and there's all this slow-mo and like weird Dutch angle shots of skulls and like the muffled sounds of children screaming. And then Jack Black tries to feed a kid chocolate, and then like spears start flying, and like all of these like clearly geeked the fuck out people just show up on the screen, and they're all wrinkly, and they're all like completely like bone thin, and they're just like chanting and making weird rat sounds the whole time, and they just feel like zombies. And then like Anne screams when the first guy gets impaled by a spear, and then Kong roars in response to that. And so that's how they know that like, oh, he wants her, which is better than in 33 and 76 where they say the same number twice, of like, oh, he'll trade 6 of his women for Anne. Or Dwan in the 76 version, I should say.
I thought that might be a typo on Wikipedia.
No. She says it in the movie when she wakes up from consciousness after they rescue her from an exploded yacht, because like her whole point in the movie is to make some stupid non-comment about the vapidity of celebrity or something. But her name is Dwan, like Dawn, but she changed the W and the A to make it more memorable.
Dyslexic Dawn.
I can highly recommend watching the 76 version, but only if you're sure you're not going to turn into a misogynist listener by watching it. That's my only recommendation. And also, like, Jeff Bridges plays, like, this guy with the worst beard I've ever seen. It's like he put glue on his face and licked a dog. And he's like a Well Actually guy before we knew what Well Actually guys were like, you know?
Oh, no.
Yeah. Like, he can talk to the natives, but not because their language is similar to other languages in the area, like in the 33 version. Like, he's a primate paleontologist.
Oh, God, that... well, first, my first thought was, that's a bad beard. And my second thought, it's kind of looking like my beard is starting to, which is not a good vibe.
Okay, here's the thing, though. I think you can recognize when your beard is starting to look bad, and you can, like, you know, maybe, like, trim it a bit or tamper it down or put some product in it or something.
Yeah, I don't know an era when that beard was ever okay.
Paleolithic.
Yes, pretty much. Before the invention of a sharp stone.
Yeah. Oh, before the invention of sharp rocks.
Yeah, back when we only had smooth rocks.
But no, so the 2005 version, they only live in this one part of the island that's like the shittiest part. It's like this mausoleum kind of place that's just falling off into the sea. And the idea is supposed to be, again, there's a world building explanation for why it is, but you know what? I feel like I'm actually not going to explain it this time. Because they didn't explain it in the movie, and so I'm just kind of left with this weird racist taste in my mouth.
It is very that does not sound very good.
No, it's really bad.
Not to sidetrack too far, but I recently did a revisit of the Looney Tunes live action properties of the 90s and 20s, 90s and aughts.
I was going to say, what an eclectic mix.
No, Looney Tunes Back in Action feels horrible to women for a 2003 film. There's that not a good age on that.
Honestly, the parts besides the natives, the 2005 version is probably my favorite version.
Mm-hmm. Good. It sounds like it sounds like the kind of fantasy fun world that I would love to see at some point. Right?
I mean, you can watch the movie.
Yes, I can.
That's not prohibited.
Well, let me put it this way. I saw it on Netflix like a couple months ago. And even after like 14 to 15 years of wondering what the movie was like, I still said, 3 hours? Nah.
Honestly, no. Honestly, like, the mindset you gotta be in is not like, oh boy, monkey action. But there is some of that. Like, I didn't even mention how much better, like in the 33 version, it takes him forever to like fight a dinosaur, and in the 76 version, he deals with the snake pretty quick. And then in the 2005 version, like, oh my god, like Anne gets chased by like 3 T-Rexes that are all hunting the same tiny snack of an animal, being Anne, in one place at the same time, which doesn't make any sense in the first place. But she's like cornered by 3 T-Rexes, and then the music swells, and like a shield like just spins and flies into frame and hits one of the T-Rexes, and then Kong catches it, and the music's all like bum 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 bum, and he just starts doing karate. Like, it's amazing. It's just like such a shift from like a puppet and a guy in a suit.
Yeah, it's that's the one scene in the movie that I have seen,
and then
because it exceeds it deserves watching. It's
like he went from just like a toddler to a Marvel superhero. It's amazing. Like, he just catches Mjolnir and starts like beating the shit out of some T-Rexes. But then in 2017 in Kong Skull Island, like, the first thing he does is he beats up a lizard thing. He beats up the skull crawler.
Yeah.
Which he also, there's some interesting stuff from like a graphic novel that was made in 2004 that was supposed to be like a Dark Horse, something like an official prequel to the 33 version, where he beats up this hive queen of this sentient eusocial race of dinosaurs called the Death Runners, I think. And he beats up the hive queen, and that's why he became king. It's this whole thing. But in the beginning of the 2017 version, the first thing he does is take out like 5 or 6 Vietnam-era helicopters. And I was like, he's gotten so good at Kung Fu, the martial art where every style is monkey style.
Oh, yeah.
That he's now beating up helicopters. Like, he just throws a tree and, like, lances one. He tricks 2 of them into running into each other, and I was like, he's unstoppable. Light aircraft is the only thing we knew that could stop him.
Yeah, absolutely. He's become savvy.
He did it.
So, yeah, it sounds like, so the
aircraft and beauty. Those 2 things.
Well, yeah, it sounds like he is not only capable of adapting to tough situations, but also as he is an active participant in battle. He is a fighter, and he's not I would call like a lazy kind of throne warmer.
Oh, no, absolutely. He barely has a throne, actually. Even in the 33 version, like, he lives in this cave in like the center of the island in a mountain that looks like a skull, funny enough. Funny how that works.
I love all the just graphing between these movies. I love all the ways that they've established that this is Skull Island.
Oh yeah, no, there's like in the 33 version there's a mountain that looks like a skull. In the 76 version I think it's also like that. I don't remember. And in the 2005 version it's a mountain. In the 2005 version the mountain doesn't really look like a skull, but like the natives put skulls everywhere. And like even before the fall of this civilization there are like ancient ruins with skeletons wearing crowns carved into the wall. So, like, they very clearly had an aesthetic and stuck to it through the apocalypse.
Absolutely. And the best part is that come time Halloween, they don't have to change their decorations.
Exactly, yeah, no.
Everything's already ready to go.
And then in 2017, the island is actually shaped like a physical skull, and also the mountain that Kong lives in looks like a skull from a certain perspective. Like, they just really doubled up on the skull juice.
That tracks. So what other major categories do we have to go through before we kind of complete this evaluation?
Well, we didn't talk about the Skull Island natives of 2017 completely.
We talked about their written system, their paints of sorts.
Right, they have a culture, which, like a culture that seems built and distinct and advanced. Which is more than I can say for any of the other options.
Sure.
The other interesting thing is, and let me just read this exact quote from John C. Reilly.
Got it.
These people live up on top of the trees while we're down in the roots. Some of them don't even seem to age. No crime, no personal property. They're past all that. Other direct quote from John C. Reilly. Kong's a pretty good king. Keeps to himself mostly. So... imagine me having watched 4 of these goddamn movies, wondering if Kong is going to be a good king, and then the guy from Step Brothers just shows up and says, like, yeah, no, fuck you. Why'd you waste your time? I could have just told you.
Yeah, first person perspective on this. Yes. So that's
Also,
yeah.
Interesting note about Skull Island. First cool use of a Japanese sword, which is not a katana, the one he uses, but first cool use of a Japanese sword I've seen in a post-irony world.
Yes, I guess it takes it seriously.
The part where John C. Reilly has a katana and he says death before dishonor because he's memorializing his dead friend / lover who crashed on the island with him, or because they were dogfighting in World War II, and he slashes at the same kind of monster that killed his friend / lover. And then he throws it to Loki, and Loki catches it, and he's like wearing a mask and beating up pterodactyls with a katana, and I was like, this got stupid again.
Right. I remember that sequence. However, in my memory, it's not Loki, it's Harry Osborn. It's freaking...
How is that?
I don't know when...
Tom Hiddleston's never played Harry Osborn, I'm pretty sure.
No, not... What's his face?
Franco?
That one... Yeah, Franco.
It's not James Franco, it's Loki.
For some reason... I know. For some reason, my brain wrote over that as James Franco.
You just haven't seen a movie where Tom Hiddleston has normal hair.
I guess that's it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's a great... It makes sense that John C. Reilly knows how to use it, right? Am I wrong in saying that?
No, it makes sense. It makes sense. He's been hanging out with a Japanese World War II soldier on an island for like 30 years, and they're the only people that talk to each other. So, like, he probably would have asked at some point. There's also a pretty good Dr. Steve Brule reference.
What year of those 30 would you guess that... would you ask to learn how his cool sword? For me, it'd probably be like in the first year. Yeah, right.
On Skull Island, like week 2. Like if it's just a regular kind of island, skill. Then maybe I'll ask after like a month. If it's Skull Island, like immediately.
All right. So we've kind of evaluated this setting, the subjects. We're hitting. We're getting close to the 50-minute mark.
Yeah, no.
Where, what else do we have to cover?
I think we've about wrapped. I think we've more or less wrapped things up.
Oh, in that case, let's really dive into Kong as a ruler with all this in mind.
Yeah, there is one last thing though. What is the title of this episode?
Banana Republic. Where's King Kong's crown?
Exactly, and so in the 1976 version, for the scene where they have Kong chained up, which is a standard part of the story, which you've apparently never seen, but
I know of that image.
Yeah,
it's the second most famous Kong image.
Right, and
the first most famous, of course, is Kong looking at his reflection in the in the pool and arguing with himself.
Who's this gorilla I see? I don't recognize him. I have to fight. I don't pass the mirror test.
Yes, continue.
Yeah. So, in the 76 version, it's not Carl Denham, the filmmaker. It's Fred Wilson, the oil man, who is the insane person running the expedition, because 70s.
Oh, man. Remember when Oil Man was the full career?
I'm an oil man. But, so, a big gas tank rolls up to this chained up actress playing Dwan, or something. It's a fucking movie. And the gas tank opens up, and guess what's inside?
I'm going to say fossil fuels from King Kong's previous friends on the island.
No, it's King Kong.
He breaks into a rage and frees himself.
That's interesting. But no, it's Kong in a cage, and I'm just going to send you a picture of that.
Okay.
Really quick. And I want you to describe for the listener what you see.
What I'm looking at here is a dunk tank with an actual crowned Kong.
He has got yeah. The gas tank came away and it was Kong in a crown, and I was like, there it is, Adam.
Yeah. It turns out to answer these questions, Kong, good king, Kong, where's his crown? You just need to watch all 4 movies.
You just gotta watch all 4 movies and they'll tell you.
Yeah, I am, I suppose there's his crown.
I suppose this entire episode and all the work that I put into it was completely fucking pointless.
No, you've discovered the truth that has been lost to us in the eras of film.
Yeah.
Yeah, what? 90 years of Kong?
90 years of Kong. Hey, 100th anniversary's coming up. I can't wait for that.
Yeah, and this year we're going to see him go toe-to-toe or fist-to-fist with the other big boy of the jungle, of the planet, Godzilla, again.
I'm sure he's been in a jungle once or twice. I'm sure Kong's going to try and do that thing where he pries his jaws apart and breaks it and then plays with it a bit.
I don't know how that movie can be bad. I said the same thing for Godzilla King of Monsters. After seeing it, I'm like, what? When people are critical of like the human characters, I'm like, what humans?
Yeah,
I wasn't watching no humans. I was watching the big lizards punching.
That's a great.
What are you talking about?
I will say that the humans, the white humans, are the best part of the 2005 Kong version. There's also, there are non-white people on the ship with them. There's a Chinese chef, which, okay. There's a black guy who's, like, his whole job is to be like, oh, Jimmy, don't be like me, Jimmy. Jimmy, when you grow up, Jimmy, don't be like me.
I think this is the cast of Atlantis.
You have to get an education, Jimmy. Jimmy, listen to me, Jimmy. You're too good for this boat, Jimmy. You gotta get off, Jimmy. Start reading. Read your books, Jimmy. For an hour.
I'm like 90% sure this is the cast of Atlantis, The Lost Empire.
He does look like the guy in Atlantis, The Lost Empire. That's true. It's kind of that same vibe.
Mm-hmm. 2005 was a weird year because you're like, on one end you have like the Mummy era of adventure films, and on the other end you're like safely in the 2010s.
Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah, so it's like, where let me say it, between The Mummy and Indiana Jones Crystal Skull, where it's like, yeah, we're kind of waving goodbye to this era.
Jimmy, listen to me. You don't have to make Indiana Jones 5, Jimmy. You don't have to make Indiana Jones 5, Jimmy.
Indiana Phone Jones.
Jimmy, listen to me. You gonna get Chris Pratt to play Indiana Jones, Jimmy? That's a terrible idea, Jimmy. Why would you even consider that, Jimmy? Just make a different movie, Jimmy. Just get another IP going, Jimmy. Please.
That's a Spielberg tongue twister. Indiana Phone Home.
Indiana Phone. Yeah. You want to do a 5-headed critic, or well, 2-headed critic with the different movies?
Going through them?
Yeah. We can do it with multiple, right?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
And this is like a game we've played before.
This is a game that is from the podcast Reasonable Beef. I can't fucking talk. I think I've had too much coffee that I was slurping earlier.
But which they took from like Whose Line Is It Anyway? So it's like a Cards Against Humanity apples to apples situation where anyone can do it.
Oh, it's kind of like King Kong in a way.
Oh yeah, you can just there's no rule. We can just decide to make another Kong movie.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think they figured out that King Kong isn't owned by anyone, but the King Kong story is. It was unclear. It was some kind of lawsuit where they tried to sue Nintendo for Donkey Kong. But anyway.
Yes. Okay. I'll start us off.
All right.
When
a filmmaker, I don't want to stick you with an article,
finds
a map,
he
fucks
everything
up
very
much.
So
the lesson
we
learn
is
to
never
ever fuck
an ape.
Yep. When a filmmaker finds a map, he fucks everything up. So the lesson we learn is never ever fuck an ape.
Yeah, that's that tracks. Don't put King Kong in an oil can.
Don't put King Kong in an oil can. If I had to make serious recommendations for everybody, the 33 version is like a version that's so old that it doesn't seem like a movie anymore. You know, like it feels like a different kind of medium. Old movie versus like movies. I think the Hays Code or colorization might be the dividing line there. I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
The 76 version, watch it for like a bad movie night. Definitely. Highly recommend for that. Not recommended for anything else. Otherwise you're a goddamn chauvinist pig ape. 2005 version, watch over the course of like an entire Sunday with a bottle of red wine and you will have a great time.
Yeah. Did you watch the theatrical one or the extended?
I watched the theatrical one. The extended one has like several sequences where they fight another bug and it's like, I don't fucking... I'm sure they fight a bug real good.
Yeah,
2017 version, watch it if you are tired of Marvel movies, but you kind of want to watch another Marvel movie. It's all blockbusters these days, right?
Right, yeah. It's like, hey, I want more of that. I will have what she's having.
Exactly, yeah.
So let's take Kong to the final rating place. As a ruler, I would give King Kong 4 out of 5 big ol' bananas.
And I would give him 2 fake Arabian proverbs out of 2.
Very well. For the record, the one missing banana is because of primate relations. I think he's got to work on his not people skills, his but primate skills.
His monkey skills.
Yeah. He's got to make more friends. Maybe he won't be as lonely then.
Yeah.
So thank you for joining us, and tune in next time when instead of the jungle, we go into a denser populated part of the world.
Good guess. We don't know what we're doing next time, I think.
No, and that I don't think we'll use that as a guideline. But yeah, Skull Island. Yeah, we'll probably see more people than that.
I wanted to put a fun button on this, like 'twas Beauty Killed the Beast, and I wanted to add some of my personal reflections that I came on, compiling 7,500 words worth of notes about King Kong, about how like beauty is not a corrupting force, but something that was awakened within, and beauty was within the beast all along, and it was kind of like a profound commentary on, I think, the 33 film. But instead, why don't we just put a button on this with our best Kong impressions?
Oh, okay.
You go first.
Do you want to... Oh, me first? Okay. Well, we know my experience, as I've established. Oh, God. What do you want Kong to say?
The only thing he ever says, dude. Like, why is this a thinker? I don't... Okay, I'll go first. How about? I'll set the example.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, please.
Just that.
All right.
It's just a little button at the end of the podcast.
Okay. I did want to, like, thump my chest if that was a Tarzan exclusive thing. You know, I...
Does King Kong thump his chest, you ask? Good. Let's freak out the neighbors. This is a great plan.
I hurt now.
It wasn't the fists. It was Beauty killed Adam's ribcage.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.